Hello again everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's YouTube video is going to discuss mental illness and the holidays, and it's actually going to be a slightly different format than the previous videos that I've done because I'll be talking about it more from a personal, lived viewpoint. My name is Tracy Maxfield. I'm a nurse, author, peer specialist, and staunch stop bullying and mental health advocate and educator. So you'll be watching this video the second week of December, with only a mere couple of weeks before we celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, New Year, and winter solstice, to name some of the holidays that are upcoming. And I think it's important to note that regardless of your particular religious affiliation or culture, that December is for most people a very difficult time because we are bombarded with images, not only on TV and social media, but in the newspapers, magazines, and in every store, of the perfect family celebration, the perfect Christmas, I will use for example, as it were. We have Christmas carols, we have presents, we have glitter, we have ornaments galore, and on TV we have movies, Hallmark movies, which show the family reminiscent of a perfect Walton family with a white picket fence, and where everyone comes together and bygones are bygones, and it's a perfect holiday celebration. In reality, we know that this is not true. I think the challenge is that our society right now is one consumed with materialistic pleasures, of being accepted and liked by our peers, but we're going about it the wrong way, and also of comparison. We are a generation of comparison, and we've actually foisted this upon our children and teenagers. So whilst I will be referring to children and teenagers in this video, what I'm talking about is going to be true for anyone living with a mental illness or disorder, suicide ideation, who is dealing with the upcoming holiday. So can you imagine if you have bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, depression, to name a few? I think what's important to recognize is that just because you have a mental disorder and this is the happiest time on earth, it does not equate that you will suddenly become happy and find joy in your life. In fact, if you are actually living with this mental disorder on your own, as I am, it can actually be the most challenging and the loneliest time. And so I think we need to break it down into a few parts. Firstly, the holidays and loneliness is a significant problem. Mental disorder and loneliness are not good bedfellows. Similarly, loneliness can actually precipitate a dementia or a mental illness if you experience loneliness long term. And I think what the holidays season has done is it's made us believe that you need to be surrounded by friends and family and have a jolly good time to get through the holidays. And so if you're alone, or if you have limited friends, or maybe family have gone away for the holiday season and you're left alone, it is very difficult for you to then move forward and try and appreciate the holidays. Now, what's interesting is there is a myth that the holiday season is the highest ratio of suicides. And actually that is completely untrue. It's actually the lowest, would you believe. The highest ratio of suicides are actually at the beginning of April and during the fall. Now, admittedly, there is a slight increase in suicides after the new year, but during December, the number of suicides, whether successful or attempts, actually decreased significantly, and even hospital admissions decreased throughout the month of December, gradually increasing at around December 27th, 28th, leading to the new year. Now, this could mean two things. It could mean that the person who is living with a mental illness was fortunate to be around friends and family, and at that time had a source of distraction and preoccupation, and so did not have suicide ideation. Or they had planned their day, if they were alone, as I do, that suicide does not factor in. Interestingly, my second suicide attempt was a few years ago on December 30th. So again, I think that's looking towards the new year and reflecting back on your life, and then realizing, if this is not going to get any better, why am I even bothering to go forward? Now, just because suicide attempts and suicide ideation seems to decrease during the month of December, that does not mean that a mental disorder also disappears. And I think this is what people need to understand. If you have a child or a teenager or an adult friend or family member who is living with a mental disorder, it does not go away. Just because they participate in family activities, put on a smile and seem to engage in conversation, it does not mean they are now miraculously healed and all is good. On the contrary, those of us living with mental illness, mental disorder, know that we are brilliant at putting on that face. I call it the smile that never reaches your eyes. Anyone can fake a smile, you can make small talk, you can seem interested. For some, it's a temporary relief from them maybe having to go back to their home where they live alone. It may give them a temporary relief from the pain and sorrow that they're feeling, but make no mistake, it is still there and it will return. If it just subsides for an hour or so, I say embrace it and enjoy it, but it will return, make no mistake. So if you are living with a mental illness and you're facing the holidays, as someone who has now faced, oh my goodness, this will be my 5th Christmas living with major depressive disorder and suicide ideation. It is actually my 8th Christmas alone. And I've always, due to childhood issues, had a very difficult time with Christmas, and I must be honest, as an adult it never got any better, and now that I'm alone and living with depression and suicide ideation, it most certainly doesn't. What I have learned is that you need to maintain your daily routine. That is imperative. And I think what you need to remember is it is just another day. In the whole scheme of things, there are 365 days a year, 366 in a leap year. This is just one of those days. Do not put unnecessary pressure and unrealistic expectations on your shoulders. If you are alone, plan your day. You're going to get up at the same time. Your routine may slightly differ because so many things are closed and unavailable, but plan your day. You may want to watch your favorite movie, listen to music, read a book, buy a book that you've always wanted to read, a jigsaw puzzle. I spend my time doing a jigsaw puzzle. Maybe treat yourself to some of your favorite foods that you can have just on that special day. Plan tasks. If you post on social media every day, then continue to post on social media. I will be posting on social media during the holidays. If you want to sort through your clothes, clean a closet, clean drawers, clean your refrigerator, please do it. You need to keep busy, but you need to maintain a routine so you're not staring into nothingness, seeing cars go by with people getting out with presents and children's laughter, and feeling that you're hopeless and helpless and at a loss, because that's when the negative thoughts start to take over. So really think about treating yourself and taking time for yourself. Maybe a nice glass of wine, a bubble bath, go through your clothes, make a list, write in your journal, express gratitude for all the good things that have happened to you this year, and make a hypothetical list of what you would like to see next year. What would you like to see to happen, and what personal changes would you like for yourself? Now, obviously, this is more an adult perspective. Usually with children and teenagers, they are going to be around family. I think what's important, if you are a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, and you know that a child or a teenager is living with a depression or OCD or an anxiety, this is going to be a very difficult time, and you cannot pressure them. Similarly, you cannot joke or invalidate their concerns, and you certainly can't tell them, look at all the wonderful gifts you've got, and this is a wonderful time of year, and look how much everyone loves you. You shouldn't be depressed. Now is not the time. Just because you're making merry, and let's remember, most of that merry could be fake and just false, and could also be alcohol influence. Just because you're making merry, you do not expect other people to be like that, especially not a child or a teenager. If you've given them a gift, a toy that they've always wanted, and they're not interested in playing with it, how about taking time out and spending some one-on-one time with a child or teenager and having a talk to them? Offer that reassuring shoulder. Be that person to validate their concerns, to tell them that you get that they're sad, and just because it's Christmas Day or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, it does not mean that they have to be happy for that one day. It's very difficult putting on a show. It is absolutely exhausting, and you beat yourself up after. So how about actually taking time and visiting with them and showing love? And I mean showing love and expressing love, and how important and valued the child or the teenager is. That actually will go such a long way more than the $200 gift you bought them, or the brand new iPod or whatever. I think another thing is, if your child or teenager is living with mental illness or disorder, be alert for cues. If they suddenly retreat to their room, if they take their meals to their room, this is a very difficult time for anyone with an eating disorder. Binge eating or bulimia nervosa gets out of hand. And with anorexia, when they're forced to participate, and really their idea of a diet, because of the challenges they're going through, is maybe 2 lettuce leaves, it's easy for the whole family to get carried away and start berating the child or the teenager that they are too skinny and they need to put fat on their ribs, and what is wrong with them. I think you've got to be very, very cognizant. I don't mean tread on eggshells, but I think how about being understanding and kind and caring and not judgmental? I think those are the most important gifts. If you value what it says in the Bible about Christmas and what Christmas means to you, and even Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, it's not materialistic and excess of food and alcohol and partying. It's actually people coming together, showing love and support and kindness and understanding. Yes, they're celebrating, but it's bringing them together. And I think we've forgotten some of those core values in society in general. If you know someone who is going to be alone at Christmas, and they have a mental illness, or they don't and they just live alone, and maybe they're an older person, I urge you to reach out. Last Christmas, again, I was on my own, and on Christmas Day I sent out 14 text messages wishing various friends a very Merry Christmas and hoping they would have a wonderful day. I got 1 response back. You have no idea how that feels. We all know that people live on their cell phones, so to say that, oh, nobody got the text messages is actually incorrect. What it shows is that, yes, people are really, really busy with their friends or family, are doing the task at hand, and it's Christmas. But to be perfectly honest, we know that reading a text and replying it, even with a wishing you a Merry Christmas too, takes all of 1 minute. And to me, the fact that I had taken the time to send out all these messages wishing everyone a wonderful Christmas and personalizing it, and only one person returning that message actually hurt very, very badly. And it actually sent me on a downward spiral last Christmas for a couple of hours, and then I pulled myself together and kind of journaled and expressed gratitude and realized what was truly important. So as I'm facing the Christmas holidays again on my own, I've already made a plan. I know what I'm going to have for breakfast, for lunch, for special treat snacks, for dinner. I bought a puzzle that I want to do, and it's 1,000 pieces. It's going to take most of my time. Movies I want to watch, music I want to listen to, reading a book that I really want to read, and then if all else fails, other more mundane tasks that I can do to keep me busy and focusing away from the fact that I'm not part of this seemingly perfect white picket fence family at Christmas. What I urge you to do is, if you know someone, please reach out. If they send you a message, return the message. If they don't message you, don't assume that everything's fine and ignore them. Either send them a text, make a quick call, or send them an email. If they're nearby and you have an hour out of your day, and I'm sure everyone wants to take an hour away from the craziness that is Christmas or Hanukkah, then actually go and take goodies, or just go and pop over for a quick visit. Just having that connection is so important. I think what we have forgotten as a society is that we all need to be loved and wanted and connected. Social connectedness is such an integral part of being human and being a person, and that goes for children, teenagers, young adults, and the older person. We all need to think we are part of something that is a bigger whole, part of something wonderful, and that our presence in this world and our contribution is as important as the next person, regardless of whether or not we live alone and have no family, regardless of whether or not we are living with a mental disorder or mental disorders. As I said, it's quite possible that you can have more than one mental disorder. And so I think we really need to move away from all this presence and commercialism and materialistic, and actually start thinking about people, because at the end of the day, when the chips are down, it's people that you need. It's other people to help you, to carry you, and to support you, and to be there for you. And Christmas, the holiday season, is the perfect time to remind you of that. So I urge you to reach out to those, and for the children and the teenagers, please be kind to them. Living with a mental disorder is not going to magically disappear over the holidays, and similarly, you need to be alert for potential signs and symptoms that something else is going on, that they may be turning to substances, because remember, alcohol is in free demand and is freely available during the holiday season. But also, if they do have those bad suicidal thoughts, you need to be really alert for that. So this time, don't pay so much attention to the tree and the presents and the perfect turkey. Actually look at the family and kind of empower and embrace your children and teenagers and your family to be the best that they can be. On a final note, I've mentioned food. I think if you have a mental illness or disorder, you really need to restrict your alcohol over the holiday season, because that is not going to help your thought process. And that is when bad thoughts start going off in your mind and you start thinking of doing something with a final and not so pleasant outcome. Also, it's great to indulge in the wonderful foods, but try everything in moderation, because too much high fat, sugar and salt content does not fare well for the human body as it tries to flush all those extra toxins and things out. So everything in moderation. I would encourage you to try and stick to your normal daily routine, but add in a few little extra treats because it is the holiday season, and maybe start setting some traditions for yourself. As you can see behind me, I have a little miniature Christmas tree. I have ornaments out that are very meaningful to me and have a story, and then I've kind of just strewn fairy lights across the table. It's planning ahead, so if you're listening to this video after it ends, maybe make a list. What is it that you like about the holiday season? What is it that you'd like to do? If you'd like to go to church and listen to a church service, if you want to go to a play, if you want to see carol singers, if you want to go to the synagogue or go to a cultural center, whatever is meaningful to you, write it down and ask a friend or a family member or someone to go with you, or even go alone. You won't be the only one, I guarantee you. What foods would you like to eat over the holidays? Is there a book or a movie that you would like? What music? If you plan ahead now, it's going to be so much easier, because before you know it, the holidays are upon you and everything gets blurred and confused and overwhelming, and everything is forced down your throat. And at the end of the day, self-care is the most important. So I urge you to take care of yourself, put yourself first and foremost, and use the holiday season as a time for you to start new traditions and new self-care strategies, and look back on the year and actually see how far you've come, because you've made it, and think, what would you like to see as the new year 2020 approaches, and what would you like to do? Continue to take your medications, absolutely. Make sure if you're having ongoing therapy that you have a session before the holidays and a session after the holidays. Write down crisis centers that are open, write down the hotline number or the suicide hotline number and post it on your fridge or somewhere, just in case. It's better to have backup plans that you don't need to implement than get into a situation where you can't find a number and then say and forget it. Go for a walk, breathe in the cool air, and just appreciate that you've made it to these holidays and that you are alive, and it is a time to rejoice and celebrate you, and that you will continue to move forward. Empower yourself. It is possible. I've been there, I'm still there. There's a part of me that dreads the upcoming holiday season, but I have prepared. I know what I'm going to do, and when I did it last year, despite the couple of hours where I didn't get any messages back, all in all it was a really good day, and so I know what works for me, and I urge you to keep moving forward. If something doesn't work, if you find yourself crying, go out, lie down and have a nap. Go and treat yourself to a bubble bath. Listen to some music. Write in your journal. Paint, draw, email a friend, write a letter. Don't beat yourself up. There are no expectations, just opportunities, and some may work and others may not. And before you know it, the holidays will be over and life begins again. And we don't want to have that huge deviation, that huge switch. Life will go on as it should. And so I wish all of you a safe, happy and healthy holiday season. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. And reach out to those who are living with a mental illness or disorder, and actually even the older person who's living alone. There's enough love to share for everyone, and as my motto is, sprinkle kindness everywhere.